Hello and welcome to Paula Unplugged at 61. First of all, got to apologise. I've been rather absent for the last 3 weeks because I've had a girlfriend staying with me from the North Island, and we've been rather busy catching up. So yes, haven't been doing much videoing lately, but that's all about to change. So today I was going to do this at home, and I thought, oh, you know what? I'm going to go down the river. I've got Lily and Lulu with me. Say hello, Lily and Lulu. If we can get them to turn around. Say hello, Lily and Lulu. No, they're far too busy. You know, you can't believe it's winter. It's a beautiful sunny day, hardly any cloud in the sky, and look at this. Why wouldn't you want to live here? Oh, I just love it. Anyway, I'm going to find myself a little posse, and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to tell you all about Disastrous Dates, episode 1, Lewis. Yes, you've got no idea. This is just the start of it, but you'll like this story. Just give me 10 minutes to find myself a nice little posse and I'll be back. So welcome back to Paula Unplugged at 61. So I've found myself a lovely little posse. Look, I've even got the sunnies out. It's such a beautiful day. I had to try and find a table with a bit of shade. But anyway, I'm here now, so I'm going to tell you about my date with Lewis. So my friend and I, when we were in Sydney, we didn't just do internet dating, we also did we went to singles parties. And there was a lady that had a really good idea. She created a company called Rave, Guzzle and Gorge. Now, what she would do is organise dinner parties at various restaurants in Sydney, and there'd always be tables of 8, so 4 girls, 4 boys, and there'd be like a table for the 20-year-olds, a table for the 30-year-olds, and so on. And then you just chat away, and at the end of the night, if you liked somebody on your table or they liked you, they could go and tell her. They didn't have to approach you, or you didn't have to approach them. So it just kind of made everything a little bit more comfortable for people. So we went to a Friday night Rave, Guzzle and Gorge dinner, and I do remember it was an Indian restaurant, and I remember the food was really good, but that was about all I do remember of the night. Anyway, cut a long story short, on the Monday she gave me a call and she said there was a guy called Lewis on my table who quite liked me, and I was like, Lewis? I said, no, don't remember him. And she said, well, he wants to know if you'd go out for a drink with him. So I said, yeah, go on, why not? You know, I'm open to everything. And that's one thing about me. I've always got a really open mind. So anyway, I'm just going to pause for 1 second because my dogs have run off. So I said to her, yes, give Lewis my number and I'll go out for a drink with him. So he called me and we organised to meet up at a little pub in Surrey Hills on the Sunday afternoon. And we met there. He didn't come. I never used to give my address, so he came and met me, and we went to the bar, and he said, would you like a wine? And I said, oh, that'd be lovely, thank you. Thinking, oh, promising, you know, buy me a drink. And believe me or not, that was quite unusual. Most men expected us to go Dutch, but anyway, not Lewis. He bought me a drink and we sat down, and I said, so Lewis, what do you do for a job? Well, he talked and he talked and he talked and he talked, and after 2 hours I knew his whole life story, and I still didn't know what he did for a job. Anyway, never asked me anything about me. And after that he said, do you want another wine? Because by then I was nearly asleep in my last one. And I said, no, I said, I better go because, you know, it's time's getting on. So we left, and then on the Monday he rang me and he said, now Paula, he said, I've had a look at my diary, and he said, I've got a spare hour on Saturday. I can fit you in on Saturday for an hour. And I said, oh God, Lewis. I said, you know what? I said, you've caught me a little bit on the hop here. I said, because I'm not in the office, which was a complete lie. I was sitting at my desk, and I just thought you can squeeze me in. But anyway, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll call you back in half an hour when I've got my diary in front of me. So I put the phone down, and about 4 hours later I called him back. And I had my notepad in front of me. I didn't have my diary. Now, bearing in mind, this would have been around 2001, 2002. And I said, hi, Lewis, it's Paula here. I said, I've got my diary in front of me now. And he said, oh, good. And I flicked the pages like this, really loud, so he could hear them down the phone. And I said, right. I said, Lewis, I've got a spare hour in July of 2010. I said, does that work for you? And he said to me, are you being sarcastic, Paula? And I said, no, not at all. I said, I'm just a really, really busy girl. And he said, okay, I get the message. And he hung up. Needless to say, never heard from him again, thank God. But that was just the start. You know, that wasn't even the first date. That was quite way into it already. But I just thought it's a funny story when a guy is trying to impress a girl and he rings her and says he can squeeze her in for an hour. It's like the FFS. I mean, nobody squeezes me in for an hour, peeps, I can tell you right now. Anyway, that's the end of episode 1. Disastrous Dates, episode 1, Lewis. And there's a lot more of those to come, trust me. So I'll sign off because I don't want to make these videos too long. I just want to, you know, keep you all interested. But I'll sign off and I'll be doing another one next week. Adios, mi amigos.